What's Ripening YouTube. So I've been getting a bunch of questions about the seed bombs that I mentioned in a previous video. So I'm going to try to give kind of an overall response and reason for why we use them and what they're for and what they do. So, well, there's a bunch of things. So I'm going to try to fit it all into one take. We'll see how it goes. Number one, if you think about what we're trying to do in an agroforestry system or even in a food forest, we're trying to mimic the processes of forest development. And in a natural system, that would take tens years or hundreds of years or maybe even thousands of years. It takes a long time for degraded land or whatever to become a forested piece of property. And if you look at the processes, you'll see that there's distinct phases. There's, what in syntropic we would consider to be the placenta phase, and then there's the accumulation phase, and then there's the abundance phase. And we're always aiming for the abundance phase. Rarely do you see it in this day and age, but that's where we're aiming. And so to get to that point, you have to go through the first two phases, the placenta and the accumulation. And in nature, that's expressed typically. The placenta is the weeds. It's the species that need the least to express themselves. And what they do is they come up and they shade the ground and they start to photosynthesize and they start to increase the microbial and the soil life. And they basically create better conditions for what comes behind them. And then what comes behind them are things that are able to express to the next level. And what you're trying to do in syntropic agroforestry is to spiral upwards in complexity and diversity and quality of life. And that's kind of a little bit esoteric, but that's really what you're trying to do. And so what we're doing with these seed bombs is we're putting in placenta plants. Placenta meaning, the part of the womb that feeds the child being our forest or our agroforest. So we're putting in species that we know are going to come up and express themselves quickly without much help. And they're going to make way for the next thing. And if you think about, if you were to plant a potted plant for every single thing in a forest, one thing to consider is that would be incredibly expensive. So if you can use seeds, you're getting several benefits. First of all, seeds are much less expensive than potted plants. Second of all, they do not ever have, or typically don't have, a disturbed root system. They are able to drive a taproot straight down or straight out or whatever way they express their roots. And so you have a little bit better establishment of that plant, assuming it's in the right context, time-wise and succession-wise. And you can get a lot up and going. Actually, let me show you some of the ones we just did. Here's a little seed bomb right here. You can see the sun hemp is coming up, and then somewhere in there it's going to be a couple cowpeas and lucena and other things. Those are all the placenta plants. I can see them in here. There's a seed bomb. Here's the cowpea, sun hemp. There's another one right here. Another one right here. So what these are going to do, and I'll tell you about the ones that we've put in here. Our combination is the cowpea and the sun hemp. The cowpea is going to be sprawling around on the ground. The sun hemp comes up straight as an emergent. That's the first wave. What comes after that is we put in lucena, and I think we put in roselle. So those are going to take a little longer to develop, but they're, roselle's probably going to be there about a year. Lucena's going to be there for a few years until we cut it back out. But what those species are doing is putting roots into the soil, covering the ground, shading the soil so it can stay moist and improve the conditions for the longer term crops. One difference that we've done separately from how a forest would recover is that we've also amended the soil and we've added mulch. So we're attacking from both ends. We're trying to accelerate that growth. And keeping in mind that when we oversupply vegetation, the concept is that you manage by pruning. So every time you cut, you're stimulating the soil, you're bringing in more light, and you're putting more material on the ground, and you're building soil. So if any of you guys are familiar with the concept of building soil, like you grow your soil so you can grow your food, that's what we're trying to do. It's a big departure from conventional agriculture. And I'll just say this, I have a lot of respect for farmers and people that are growing the food that we eat every day. But one of my passions and goals is to find methods where we can grow our own and we can produce our own biomass and stop being reliant on inputs. So a big part of this is getting away from the inputs, becoming a more process-based and life-based grower. And the economics are still in question of how to make this work and how to can it be a business or is this more for people to do for themselves? Honestly, that's a struggle that I'm dealing with every day, and I talk to people about it all the time. There is more work involved, and there is more understanding that's needed to make it work. But I think the benefits are real, and I think we need to move into natural systems. And hopefully, if you're watching this, you guys agree. Let me know if I've explained the seed bombs. I'm gonna go do another video with some more mature ones so you can see what they look like. Unfortunately, most of the ones that I planted last year, a lot of those got absolutely clobbered by the hurricane. So I don't have a ton of really great examples. I do have a few, so I'm gonna go hunt around for some, and I'll come back with another video.